Last week on Pokemon Cooked League, Landorus Dating Simulator's mascot proved to be the perfect soulmate with 4 Rock-side flinches against the Sinistas. Meanwhile, Women's and DD showed the true meaning of girl power against Gen 7. Will the OU staple be able to withstand the rising feminism? Welcome to the second match of Week 2. We have the Landorus Dating Simulator versus Women. And here we can see one of the new acquisitions from Women, Hisuian Arcanine. And let's talk about that Mon a little bit, because it's the new Mon. In this matchup, definitely very polarizing here. There's a lot of things that it's weak to. Quad weak to Landorus Earthquake, quad weak to 3 of the water types, and also weak to potential fighting type move to the Marshadow. But Intimidate support, Rock Slide, especially because a decent amount of this field's team is not that fast. Let's see. Like 4 out of the 6 Mons are slower than Arcanine, at least on paper. If they're all max speed. Wow. And then if like the Landorus is just a bit more bulky, like you decides to go for a bit more bulk, or like just is adamant instead of like Jolly or something, the Arcanine can outspeed everything besides the Marshadow here. So that could be good for getting some big damage off, or just trying to do the rock slide flinches. And speaking of the rock slide flinches, we got to talk about last week that Landorus theory and getting 4 rock slide flinches even when it's burned, slow chipping things down. But on the opposite side of the field, I think it's going to be big here. I think Rotom is in a pretty good spot here. Rotom with the water electric coverage, nothing resists both water. There's no dragon type, so nothing resists both water and electric. It's neutral to everything, and water and electric hits 3 things for super effectively. And then against something like the Gallade, you can Will-O-Wisp it, which is really nice here. And I can't imagine, let's see, if we're talking about leads, you have to bring in something that can cover the water types, because there's so many of them. There's 3 of them. So what's your best one in dealing with water type attacks? Probably the Vikavolt, because Stab Thunder, Thunderbolt, that hits hard. But yeah, and on the other side, I do like I'd be kind of surprised if the Arcanine was part of the lead. So I don't think I want to bring in Rotom Wash just yet. But what do you lead? Honestly, this team's also pretty weak to rock, so like maybe you bring in the Stealth Rock set first, like the Ferrothorn, or the maybe Landorus itself, something like that, and something to cover that. But let's get this match started. Reminder that both these trainers are 1-0, so starting off 2-0 for either of these trainers would be really big. And yeah, we see the Armarouge and DD lead. Classic size spam. Big expanding forces can happen. Trick Room can happen. Fire type blow up move can happen. There's a lot of scary things, and I'm assuming this Ferrothorn's intention was to try to get up Stealth Rock here, just get the hazards up quickly. But that is it's already in a pickle here, and honestly, this lead is just like kind of a disaster. And not disaster. That's not completely true. I mean, it kind of is, because like, what stops like follow me plus fire type moves here, right? Like the Ferrothorn dies. The Marshadow's bulk isn't the greatest, and then you can just click and like, oh, you can hit the ghost type, the ghost type move into the Armarouge. But obviously, if the follow me happens, that doesn't work. So, got to be careful. Definitely some mind games here, because what if the deity doesn't go for follow me at all, and then you like try to double, like you just double attack to try to kill the deity, and then it just protects and the armor just attacks. So definitely a tough spot here. You could also just try to switch around here. Prim has very good special bulk, so like maybe can survive the onslaught. That's a reasonable thing you can do here, but definitely a tricky spot here. Steel Roller, I don't know. I don't know. Is that just an attack? Does that do something? Oh, it gets rid of terrain. Oh. Oh, it's even stronger when there is terrain. Then it only works with terrain, I think, and it's stronger. But yeah, going for Shadow Sneak. Which was not good for several reasons. One, Psychic Terrain doesn't work, and two, Follow Me. So that didn't work. But you got rid of the Psychic Terrain, which is huge, and I'm assuming this. And we do get the Trick Room up. So now that the Psychic Terrain is not up here, priority moves are possible now. But again, what about the Follow Me stuff? But overall, the Ferrothorn is the slowest mon here, I would have to imagine. Unless, like, this Ferrothorn was trying to be speedy for some reason, and this Armarouge is min speed. The Armarouge being min speed is definitely a real thing, again. Is probably what it is. But yeah, the Ferrothorn definitely in an awkward spot here. Because, again, you're still risk getting blown up by our fire move here. But definitely the overall damage output's a lot lower. So, like, maybe you feel good about switching the Prim now, because now you don't have to do with the Psychic Terrain boosted stuff. I don't think that's a bad call here. And then this Marshadow's in a very bad spot here. I will say that. It's just Psychic type moves and stuff like that. In the Fire type moves, it's not that happy to hit either. And, you know, the Volcanion definitely is more leaning into the Heat Wave strategy, trying to play around the Heat Wave strategy, and gets the call right, and gets rewarded for it. And also gets rewarded for being brave with the staying on a potential Psychic type move into the from the Armarouge. But, you know, because of the no Psychic Terrain, it just wasn't as appealing to click, and just a chance to hit something with a quad super effective move is definitely very enticing, especially since that seemed to be the thing that's, like, maybe less likely to switch out, because it does have speed and priority Trick Room. That Marshadow on paper looks terrible. Alright, I do wonder what the item for this Marshadow is here, because it's not Life Orb, it's not Banded, it's not any choice item. So maybe it's Focus Sash, and we just broke Focus Sash. But maybe it's some type of barrier or something. But here comes the Arcanine. Get the Intimidate off. Not Clear Amulet either. And with this Arcanine coming in now, does that mean the Arcanine is trained to be as slow as possible? And we're just hard leaning into Trick Room? Or are we just trying to just get the Intimidate off on the Marshadow here? And it's like... But yeah, Volcanion definitely in a very strong position here, because it could theoretically be slower than everything else, at least base-wise it is. So, like, and obviously a Steam Eruption or whatever water-type move you click is going to blow something up, so you better have a way to either KO the Volcanion, or you're going to have to try to pivot around it, or guess what's the correct thing to protect. The Arcanine is quad weak to water, so maybe that puts you in a decision of which one to hit. It's like, oh. And then I probably am I think I'm trying to water type move the Armarouge here. And then because, at least worst case scenario, the Marshadow's maybe lives, and then you can at least get a decent sized CC on the Arcanine. And that's pretty good. Oh, and it's Sash Arcanine. Okay, that makes sense. Rock Slide. Volcanion's so bulky that it eats that fairly well here. And if we can look at the speed tiers, it looks like this Armarouge is in fact the slowest thing on the field. Which is then it's the Volcanion, then the Arcanine. So now it depends on what moves you have on the Ferrothorn. I don't know if Ferrothorn has any moves I could do. Does it get knockoff? I think it gets knockoff. And if you have knockoff, a way to do like 65% on the Armor Rouge, that could be pretty big here. Just as a way to, you know, you KO the Armor Rouge safely, and then the Volcanion can just peck off this Arcanine, and then you're up pretty big. But definitely depends on the moveset. Yeah, I'm going to guess this Armor Rouge is min speed. So you got to definitely worry about that and have to be cautious of that. Okay, we bring out the Prim. Makes sense. It's especially bulky enough here. Prim is probably slower than the Volcanion here. So if you like Liquid Voice, Hyper Voice, that threatens to KO both of these fairly easily. And then it's just the unless one of these, I can't imagine. Armor Rouge's last move could be Wide Guard, I guess, but that's not that unlikely. But I'm gonna guess it's Protect here, truthfully. Energy Ball. Prim will take that fairly well. Oh, that's cute. I didn't know Sparkling Aura hit everyone because I only see that move in singles. So, getting some very valuable chip healing on a mon that's pretty bulky like the Volcanion, which is nice here, and gets the KO. Last turn, a Trick Room. So here's where things get let's see, the Arcanine just protected, so the double protect is likely to fail. That's one thing to consider. And the other thing to get, so I don't know what the Arcanine is gonna do here, but you do have to make a decision of do you want to try to trade with this Arcanine and trade 1-for-1, or do you just want to double protect here, and try to if we are looking at the calcs real quick, the Rock Slide did 60 to the Volcanion, so it looks like it's probably a roll to KO with a Rock Slide here. So do you want to be in Trick Room or not for the last turn? And I think either way, the answer, I think it's close either way, I will say. Because, like, if you just, like, trade, then you're up, like, 3 to, like... Well, it's not trading. Arcanine could switch out and switch back in. That's also true. But, like, if you, like, double just Water Move, that's, like, very scary. Even, I mean, their Rakuen could take that fairly low, but then you're super below on speed control here. And then things like the, even the slow Ferrothorn, or, like, or the Rotom can be a big threat here. So, definitely a tricky spot here. We'll see what is chosen here. Choosing not to protect, I respect that. Flamethrower does good damage from the Vikavolt. In not KOing is probably fine here. It's a double KO. The women take a 3-4 lead. But the two of the mons are very low HP here. Trick Room is over. So, what two mons do you send in here? That is a good question. Does Vikavolt get freaking does it get like Wide Guard? I don't know. I probably keep Landorus in the back for Intimidate. I think that makes the most sense here. I probably wait. Well, then you can't KO both, probably. That's the issue. Unless yeah, I would like to Intimidate, but like there's no way to easily in both these mons. I mean, you could just say that you could say like, hey, the Vikavolt's not that big of a problem against Rotom and like in Ferrothorn here. That's not a crazy thing. Or you could like try to like protect and like get that call right. Or you could just send the Landorus to just secure your double KO here. Okay, we're gonna leave the Rotom in the back here. And we'll see what this the item what this Landorus is might be important here. We'll find out. Rock Slide Death, like I said, threatens to KO both here. We're going to get a switch in. If it's Rock Slide, this is going to hurt pretty badly because the Ferrothorn also gets to attack here. And if it's like, okay, we get the Stealth Rocks, which probably to try to punish the Araquanid from switching in here, but Araquanid switches in preemptively here. And because of that, it is now up to a 3v2 in the Lando-T Dating Simulator's favor here. And sacking the Vikavolt, small optimization issue. The Gallade should go in first just in case you want to like just protect the Gallade for something, and then you can switch it in from something, but not that big of a deal, I'd argue here. Gallade doesn't take much from this. And now the Gallade is in a spot where the fighting type moves. Ferrothorn so physically bulky, probably eats one, and if it's because of stuff like the iron barbs and like the and potential rocky helmet item, that takes a lot of self chip. But the Gallade could also be wide guard here. Gallade, I know that mon has wide guard. Both of these mons actually have wide guard, actually, so that could be pretty big here. So definitely something to be careful about. And I want to switch into Rotom now, just in case of your choice scarf, because both these mons could have wide guard, and the Araquanid is definitely in a scary spot against the against both of this, and the Rotom's in a good, probably in a decent spot in both of them. But maybe you don't even need to do that, where you can just like keep trading and the Rotom cleans up end game. We have the wide guard. Rock Slide, not gonna work. Secret Sword, that's gonna eat that. Eat's a strong word, but good chip back. Oh, we're leech seeding here, and that puts the Gallade on a clock here. And so what you could do here is like you could protect with the Ferrothorn, and honestly just keep on clicking Rock Slide here, because it just every turn is like a win for you that this game goes on. And the Araquanid doesn't click wide guard here, then you're not making progress on the Landorus here. So I think this is a very favorable spot here. And if you're okay, if you're just okay keeping on doing this, which I think you should be. Okay, yep, doesn't even go for the protect here, because knowing that, going for wide guard, knowing that he's on a timer and just has to hope for a Rock Slide miss or just like a misplay here. Secret Sword, you're going to KO yourself with the with all the extra chip. And that's going to be a KO, but the Rotom Wash in the end, the GameCube, the Nintendo GameCube is going to be able to clean it up against the Araquanid. Can only imagine here. And yep, that's it. That was a very good game. I think that was a little sloppy in the early game with the obvious Shadow Seek on turn 1, disaster on several reasons, but the Stealer Roller was a good tack. Made some good calls with the Volcanion. I think taking the trades with just kind of putting the foot on the gas when you're in an appropriate spot and not choosing to slow the game down when you didn't have to, I think was good. Rock Slide, the Stealth Rocks were not nearly as impactful in this game. Maybe that was a bit... it wasn't the worst Stealth Rock ever, at least in theory, because if the Araquanid didn't switch in there, then you get some extra chip. And it makes sense because you expected the Rock Slide to get the double KO there, and you just got some extra free damage, but definitely could have gone worse if the Rock Slide did end up missing, but didn't get the miss. And all that's left standing is the GameCube, but that's going to do it for me. The Dating Simulators at 2-0, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.